Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen again. I'm Arlie and this is Arlie at Home. Today we're going to be prepping a ton of make-ahead meals. Now, I'm not going to do the typical 9x13 pans of it, casseroles that go into the oven and you cook them and everybody eats later on. No, I'm doing individual meals because lately our schedules have been insane and we've been eating at very different times. So some days my son's in school until 5 and we don't get home until 6 and just a whole bunch of craziness. So whenever somebody is hungry, whether it be a lunch, whether it be a dinner, it's just a matter of grab your individual meal out, reheat it, have your meal and go about your day. So let's get into it. Right now I have 2 sheet pans over here on my stove that are lined with aluminum foil, and I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to put on them. All right, guys, so in this gigantic bowl, I have some very gigantic chicken. I have a huge chicken breast and 3 very large chicken thighs. Now, I purchased this chicken from a restaurant supply store that's near our area, and they sell bulk foods, mostly meats. And we bought these to try them out, and they are massive. So I just seasoned them with a little bit of fresh ground pepper and some fresh ground salt. I use pink Himalayan salt when I cook mostly. And then I'm going to dust it with a little bit of Chinese 5 spice. Just a little bit, because a little bit goes a really long way. And we're going to pour a little bit of olive oil over the top and the juice of half of a lime. Now these are homegrown limes, so they are extremely strong flavored. I love them. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and add a whole other lime to it. Why not? Okay, so I'm just going to place these onto this baking sheet that I have lined with aluminum foil for easy cleanup later. Done. And that one is ready to go into the oven. All right, guys, so now in here we have 1.5 pounds of ground turkey. To this, we're going to add 2 large eggs, about half a cup of Parmesan cheese or powdered cheese, like my family likes to call it. We're a little weird sometimes, but it works out for us. And then to that, we're going to add about 1/3 cup of milk. Trust me, it's going to work out fantastically. And about 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. And about 1 tablespoon of onion powder or granulated onion. And about 1 tablespoon of granulated garlic. So I add about half a cup of panko to this mix. Crack in some pepper. As little or as much as you love. And a little bit of salt. And we're just going to mix this up. All right, so our oven is preheated at 350. I'm gonna go in with the chicken. And I'm gonna grab my handy dandy scoop. I love my scoop. I use it for everything. And I wash it very, very well. So now, with this meat mixture, we're gonna take a leveled scoop, and those are our meatballs. You see that? So these guys are ready to go. We're gonna pop them in the oven as well. All right guys, so I've got 9 cups of rice cooking, which seems like a ridiculous amount for 3 people, but we're gonna be eating for a few days off of it. So it's actually a decent amount. Now we're gonna get started on the proteins. I already have my meatballs in the oven. Let me take a peek at those. Looking great. And my chicken. I'm gonna have to glaze my chicken real quick in a little bit. Not quite yet. In the meantime, let's get started on our picadillo. Picadillo, for some people who don't know, is like a beef hash in a lot of Spanish communities. And everybody does it a little differently. Every culture does it a little differently. Every household does it a little differently. So I'm gonna share with you guys how I do mine. So I have my Dutch oven heating up on the pan. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil into the bottom just to coat. And then I'm gonna make mine with turkey. Traditionally, this is made with ground beef, but we're trying to stay away from excessive amounts of beef these days, so ground turkey is our go-to. All right guys, so while that meat browns, I have 2 packages of 3 top round steaks. Now these, if you notice, they have like these little holes in it. You see that? That's because they've been tenderized. Because top round tends to be a little bit tougher than, say, like a sirloin. So all I'm gonna do is slice this thin so we can have it kind of like a stir fry over rice with vegetables. Okay, so to this meat, I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of teriyaki sauce, like not a ridiculous amount, because we are gonna season the vegetables as well. And that's just what was left in this bottle. And just a couple dashes of soy sauce. Alright guys, so I just glazed the chicken with some hoisin sauce to give it a beautiful flavor. Once that caramelizes over the top, it'll taste so good. The ground turkey is browning nicely, so at this point I'm gonna add about a cup of diced bell peppers. Now I like to buy a bulk amount of green bell peppers and dice them up and put them in Ziploc bags in the freezer so they're ready for me to use. And I do the same thing with the onions. So we're gonna add about a cup of chopped onions as well. And we're gonna let that cook down. Okay guys, so I went ahead and filled this pot with water and I'm bringing that to a boil so I can cook our pasta. I'm adding about a tablespoon of minced garlic to our picadillo mix, so that could go reducing down and cooking. And now we're gonna add a few spices to it. We're gonna go in with some cracked black pepper, a bit of salt. We're gonna add about half of a tablespoon of cumin. I love cumin. Cumin is earthy. It makes you feel like you're at home. That's the best way to describe it. And then about half a tablespoon of homegrown oregano. We're gonna stir that in and let that come to life. It's Remember, I've said it a million times over, your spices are fat soluble, which means that they give their flavor once they've been exposed to fats and they've been cooked in it. All right, to that, we're gonna add about 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. And we're gonna let this brown a little bit. We're gonna wake that up as well, just like we did with the herbs. We're just gonna cook them for a little bit before we add any liquid into that. All right, guys, see now, ooh, it's starting to get a little toasty on the bottom. We want all of that. And we're gonna add about a cup of tomato sauce. Deglaze the bottom a bit with that. And we're gonna add olives. Some people like more, some people like less, some people like none. It's up to you. Use as many as you want, but I caution you, olives will impart some saltiness to this. So just be aware of the salt content if you're adding more olives. We're gonna add 1 potato that I have peeled and diced. Now, you don't want your dices to be that big. See, something like that is just fine. So I added about 2.5 cups of water. We're just gonna let that stew and reduce down. There was a little stem from the oregano, no big deal, we just pick that out. Sometimes when it's homegrown like that, they get mixed in there. Perfect. So we're just gonna let this stew and reduce down while we keep going with everything else. All right, so we have boiling water in this pot. I'm just gonna add a whole box of penne, and the instructions for this box of pasta say to cook it for 10 to 12 minutes. I'm going to cook it way less than that because we're going to be reheating it. So that's going to cook twice and absorb the sauce that we're going to put on it. So I'm going to cook it for about 7 minutes. All right, so I've moved the picadillo to the back. Now let's work on some pasta sauce. For when our pasta is done and drained, we can put our meatballs and stuff together. As I'm saying this, I'm grabbing a colander and getting the sink ready for when it is time to drain this out. Over here, I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of olive oil to the bottom. While that heats up, I'm gonna keep this sauce extra simple. Just a little bit of diced onion. And garlic, my BFF. Like a lot of garlic. I love garlic in my pasta. So I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning to this. Some cracked pepper. A little bit of salt. All right, so to this, now that it's gotten caramelly and brown and translucent, 1 whole quart of tomato sauce. And I have another cup from earlier from making the picadillo. So I just poured it into this big jar, added some water to clean it out, and now I'm adding all of that to this. There we go. We want this sauce to be just a little bit watery because this is also going to rehydrate the pasta and finish cooking it in the microwave when we warm our food up. Now we need to let that come to a simmer. So our meatballs are out, they're brown, they're crusty, they're happy, they're beautiful. And I'm gonna put 3 meatballs per container. It's gonna be like that. And then we'll spoon the sauce over the top. A generous amount of sauce, because that sauce is going to continue the cooking process for the pasta. Alright guys, so our picadillo is reducing. It's almost done, but it's not quite there yet. We don't want it to be soupy. We want it to be thick and hash-like. And now we're going to finish our last dish, which is going to be our beef fajita stir-fry type deal. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to get that done. Alright guys, so that's all of it. That is 20 prepackaged meals for this week, all the way to the back of the freezer, stacked up. And I'm gonna say I'm pretty proud of myself. It has been an extremely long day. Thank you so much for hanging with me today. I mean, we did a lot. We worked so hard, you guys, and I'm so proud of us. Thank you for sticking with me. We made a ton of meals. We made like a beef stir fry, picadillo. We made, what else did I make? Oh, I made a hoisin chicken, and I made spaghetti or pasta and meatballs. So all in all, we have a good variety for this week to just kind of grab a meal and finish off and not have to worry about coming home, running to cook and eating dinner extra late. So I think it's been working out fantastically for us. We look forward to doing this, and we keep coming up with different meals. If you guys have anything that you want to see done, feel free to write it in the comments and I'll give it a try, and our family will give it a try. So thank you so much for spending the day with me again. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that little bell so you'll be notified every time a video pops up. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.